book, Managing for Excellence in the 21st Century, she highlights ignorance, dependency, and the blame game as major forces impeding Africa and Ghana's progress. I have been engaging here on the practical examples of those three forces and why they are slowing down our progress, and indeed at the individual level, how you can benefit from total quality management principles. Here is the first part of our interview.
Total quality management basically is about, it's a management practice and a management philosophy that is based on the idea that life is a process of continually learning and improving whatever you do, and that to be able to optimize your own value and find true meaning and fulfillment in life, first you have to pay attention to improving yourself continually in everything you do. You have to understand why you exist, that it is because you have to be useful to somebody. So it's all about value addition, how you're able to add value to whatever you have and to who you are. It's about how you use the resources you have to the best of your ability and get the best out of it. Okay. And how you involve people in whatever you do, so you don't spend so much of your energy doing what is not necessary. Right. Something that other people could help you do better. So it's about everybody's involvement in achieving transformation through value addition and continual improvement. Okay. It is about understanding that the reason why you exist is to serve a customer. Okay. So in a marriage, the question would be, who are your customers? Okay. Is it your husband? Okay. Your children, your in-laws, you know, and whoever those people are will change with the context, and how you satisfy them will change with the context. So total quality management simply tells us, find value in life by focusing on the people you exist to serve through value addition, continual improvement, and involvement of people around you.
So that's what basically it is.
That's all.
Because when you hear, and I've worked at now UPSA before, exactly, and you hear a lot of the students say TQM, and it sounds all, you know, bourgeois, and you can't really bring it up. So it's basically about using the resources at your disposal to make the most out of life,
that's
basically.
All.
I see. In that case, why does it sound so bourgeois? Why have you written a whole book that deals with this particular subject matter?
You know, because I feel that the set of principles that come with total quality management is what helps to deliver people normally from a state in which they find unacceptable.
Okay.
You know, because I say that quality is about being useful to other people. And the more useful you are to people, the more you find true meaning in life, right? Even our paycheck is dependent on how useful we are in life. True. You agree with that? Okay. But the fact is, you cannot be useful to someone or somebody if you're not acceptable to that person.
Okay. So you have to make yourself acceptable.
So you have to make yourself and whatever you have to offer acceptable to people.
I see.
Now, this simple principle of acceptability runs through the whole concept of TQM. So that if you feel that open drains are acceptable to you, that defines your quality of life.
I see.
It's malaria is acceptable to you, you accommodate it and try to fight it when you have already gotten it. But if it's not acceptable to you, you try to fight it from the root cause.
Okay.
So for example, we as a continent of Africa will not sit down for malaria to run us down, for mosquitoes to fight us to an extent that it reduces our productivity.
And kills us at the end of the day.
And kills us at the end of the day. We spend millions not in preventing the malaria, but in reacting to the malaria.
Right.
When in actual fact, if malaria were to be unacceptable to us as a standard of life, we would have put our scientists to task to find solutions, for example, creating a vaccine by now for malaria. Because trust me, the people who find mosquito a multi-million-dollar business will not come down with a solution for us.
Right.
Are you getting the point of view? So it is about taking an abstract concept like acceptability and translating it to the quality of life, or what is acceptable to you and what is not acceptable to you.
Right.
And the fact that we need to be proactive in preventing things rather than reacting to things.
Right. Well, so I'm going to ask you to give us a summary of this book, Managing for Excellence in the 21st Century.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, it is said, and it's something that I really disagree with, even though it appears to be the truth, that if you want to hide anything, for example, from the African, they say, put it in a book. How optimistic are you that the information, this very good information that you're putting out there, that you want to reach out to people with, is going to reach them when you put it in a book, when they have said that people don't like reading around here?
It is one of the things that we're hoping to change. And I believe there is hope. And one of the hopes, some of the things that come with the hope are actually encapsulated in this book. Okay. Why do I say that? Because you don't light a candle and put it underneath a bed.
Right.
But that is what we have done over the years with books. So people don't really get to understand why they need to read, why they need to invest in knowledge. Okay. You get in my point of view. So the media, for example, has a role to play here. What do we project? What do we promote? Are we promoting reading enough? Are we sensitizing people to understand why it is important to read a book?
Do you think that media isn't doing much in that regard? Because regardless of how much you push people to read, if they don't want to read, there isn't much you can do.
We are not making them see value enough in it. Okay. Maybe we're doing well, but don't forget, total quality management, it's about improvement. Okay. Improving continually without an end. And that means that no matter how well you're performing as media right now, there is still some room for improvement.
Certainly, certainly.
So I think we have to do more in promoting. Okay. And for example, this discussion we're having is one of them. Okay. I saw this morning, when I sat in your studios just before I came in here, that you interviewed someone, Bulare, about his book. Okay. And he spoke extensively about it. I say congratulations to him. But that singular act of you, of this station, is going to inspire somebody to grab that book and get the value from it.
So we should do a lot more of that.
Do a lot more of that, just as you're doing. I mean, I was combing through the dailies and I realized that we do not have a kind of reliable system of book reviews in this country. I couldn't really lay a finger on any in the print media. Okay. Elsewhere, that is a whole product by itself. In fact, it is a business line for people.
We used to have a program like that on JoyNews. It was called Inside Pages. One of my colleagues who's actually...
Bring it back.
My colleague who was doing it has resigned.
Oh, my God.
But even before she resigned, we stopped putting it out there. I don't know why, but I'm sure perhaps you won't find people attracted to such programs as much as you'd expect. But let's come to your book. Give us a summary of Managing for Excellence in the 21st Century.
Well, Managing for Excellence in the 21st Century looks at the bigger picture of the development of the African continent, about how we can achieve the African Agenda 2063, which is about creating the Africa that we want. And I summarize it by achieving the 3 Ps for Africa. So an Africa that is prosperous, an Africa that is peaceful, and an Africa that is progressive. So I talk quite extensively about some of the reasons why Africa's development has been slow, including Ghana, about the fact that there are things that slow us down, like ignorance, like you spoke about.
Yes, I was coming to ask you about that, because those seem to be very key in your book. Ignorance, the blame game, and then the dependency syndrome. That was something that I wanted you to address for me. But if you wrap up with the point that you were making, then I'll bring you my question about those themes in the book.
So basically, I talk about that and how Africa can move from a dark continent to the continent that we can be proud of. So we wouldn't have our people who are not being held forcefully in slavery or into slavery, but people who are themselves willingly giving themselves up for slavery, to the extent that we have some of the African youth going through that ordeal of crossing the Mediterranean and losing their lives in the process, simply because they're looking for a better life somewhere. When Africa is the second biggest continent, blessed with abundant resources like gold and oil and other mineral resources, yet we remain the poorest continent.
Summary of this book is that it's going to change this narrative?
Absolutely. The how is how we begin to realize the potential in us and understand that the true meaning of life is the extent to which we add value to other people's life. Is the extent to which we can add value to the resources we have. If we continue to export commodities and to export things in their raw form, we aren't going to go anywhere.
Right. Speaking of which, I'm going to ask you to give us practical examples of how these forces are manifested in governance in our country.
Absolutely.
Now, you speak about the dependency syndrome, which is something that you come across a lot as a development student. I've come across the dependency syndrome a lot, and you get all the reasons why you can't live in isolation, why you may have to depend on somebody else. Ignorance. You also speak about the blame game. How, for you, what are the practical examples of the manifestation of these forces in governance in this country?
So when you take, for example, ignorance, you know, a typical example, when we found oil in this country, I remember there was a news item that was carried that they needed welders, people who